When they aren't using media censorship or fear tactics to sway the opposition, pro-government supporters in Turkey have turned to sexy Twitter bots to push their agenda. Now, due to this atmosphere of distrust, some activists have found organizations like Vote and Beyond to keep elections more honest. And one activist in particular recently noticed a new organization on Twitter called Vote and Fraud, promoted by members of a pro-Erdogan Twitter network. But there was something extra fishy about the account. It had only one tweet, but 42,000 followers.
That must have been a hell of a tweet.
It was a great tweet. Now, unlike Facebook, Twitter assigns users a unique Twitter ID, which is constant even as users change their name. So Vote and Beyond volunteer F.A. Sozeri searched Vote and Fraud's Twitter ID and found that just a week ago, it had a sexy girl profile picture and was tweeting romantic book quotes. Now, the fake account was part of a follower-boosting Twitter app as well, which automates a follow-back system. This explained why at the time it had only 42,000 followers, but was following 41,000 in return. Now, the sneakiness didn't stop there. Allegedly, the account was for sale on a webmaster forum for 200 Turkish liras, about $70, and the seller exchanged at least 70 more accounts this way. And since then, whoever's running Vote and Fraud has been tweeting anonymous voter testimonies of how the opposition parties were coercing pro-Erdogan voters to change their votes. Now, this isn't the only instance of Twitter fraud used in this way. Another pro-Erdogan Twitter account has 182,000 followers, but only 9 tweets, all posted in the last 10 days of election campaigning. It targets the opposition political party HDP with, for instance, demotivational posters that assert the opposition party is involved in terrorism. But just a month ago, the same account was posting funny jokes about relationships, receiving hundreds of favorites and retweets for each tweet.
Okay, so let's set some context here.
Yeah.
Okay, Erdogan's government in Turkey is the more religious party. Okay, so they're like George W. Bush is more evangelical here in the U.S. They're more evangelical Muslims in Turkey. Now, Turkey's largely secular, was completely secular before Erdogan's party started ruling for 13 years, and they've been pushing in a more and more religious direction. But the elections are coming up, so we could really use some cleavage. So the headdress and all that, nah, oh yeah, look at this. Come here and tweet this, baby, right? So all of a sudden, we're going in that direction. Hypocritical? Yeah, sure. So,
or maybe they're trying to get people who wouldn't necessarily vote for the religious party because they're probably, you know what I mean? And they're trying to get that following.
Right. And then, of course, if you vote for the more religious party afterwards, they'll convert you anyway and, you know, talk some sense into you and make sure you don't see those tits anymore.
Right.
Okay. Now, if you're thinking this is outrageous and unprecedented, well, then you haven't been following American politics, which does something very similar. Okay. Now, what they did with the elections is a different matter. But what they're doing in trying to do marketing for their campaigns, okay, so let's break that down. First of all, they have this group that cares about voter fraud. That's exactly what the Republicans do here, our right wing and their right wing. Now, meanwhile, there's allegations of actual voter fraud on a mass scale done by their own party, right? That's AKP, Erdogan's party, which is the more religious party. And here in America, the only time that we had an issue about, hey, did someone actually win or did they pretend that they won? Oh, right. That was when Jeb Bush declared his brother, the president, by saying that he had won Florida when we counted the votes later and it turns out he hadn't won Florida. Okay. More similarities. So fake Twitter followers. Newt Gingrich, when he ran in 2012, somebody did a report because he kept bragging about, oh, I have all these Twitter followers. I'm the most popular because I have the most Twitter followers. My message is resonating with the American people. It turns out his message was resonating with the Indian people. 90% of his Twitter followers were from India.
Interesting.
Because he was buying them through bots. So they weren't real at all. A right-winger in America and now a right-winger in Turkey. Fake Twitter followers. Okay, one last one. Using romantic sexual references to try to get people over to the party that claims to be a party of family values. Have you read any of O'Reilly's books? By the way, don't. Okay. But Bill O'Reilly, in some of his books, has these saucy, romantic tales of people you know, putting loofahs and falafels all over them in the show. Oh no, that was his own sex talk that he did with a producer that they had to pay millions of dollars to get him out of, okay, when she claimed sexual harassment. But by the way, the loofah and the falafel is from the sexual harassment lawsuit, but he did write novels with all these, like, sex in it, etc. So family values, unless there's an election, hey, come get my book, hey, vote for me. Right-wingers all over the world, all hypocritical, same with the religious, the not good religious folks, but the fundamentalists of all stripes, always do the same bag of tricks, right? So in this case, it happened to be in service of an election in Turkey. The only thing I'm surprised by in this story, Hannah, is that they bothered to try to get the votes, when at the end of the day, it appears that the polling indicated that they were going to not have the majority in the election, that it was going to be a result that was similar to the June elections that they didn't like. And voila, at the end of the day, the voting website was down, but they declared right away that they had won the elections and had a majority. So why bother with all the Twitter shenanigans and the cleavage and the breasts if you were going to do what you did at the end anyway?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, the thing is like whether you're a fundamentalist or not, at the end of the day, you know marketing, sex sells. And so they basically just tried to get all of these Twitter followers. But it seems like Twitter should have some sort of policy against this. Do you know what I mean? Like, okay, so now somebody just sold this account. You got all, I mean, that's impressive. 182,000 followers based off jokes and romanticism or whatever, regardless of whether they bought some of them or they got it through the following app or not. That's still an impressive Twitter following. And then going and selling that following, selling those people who, you know, decided to subscribe to that one person seems really morally wrong.
Yeah, it's morally wrong, but you're right. It's surprisingly effective.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, whoever did those bots, call us.
Yeah.
No, okay.
You're funny.
Yeah. But one last thing, because Hannah makes a really great point there. Isn't it interesting that that when they actually need votes, again, here in America, what did the right wing do? Mitch McConnell, desperate for votes in his race in Kentucky, at the end came out for the version of Obamacare in Kentucky. The bill that he'd been trying to kill his whole career, like, oh, Obamacare is the worst. Blah, blah, blah. Now, there's a Kentucky version of that. It conveniently has a different name. It's the same law, right?
Right.
And he's like, yeah, that I'm in favor of. Oh, I love that. Yeah, connect. I'm all about that, right? So, and they pretend to be in favor of Social Security, Medicare, all these positions that are actually on the left. Here in Turkey, like, oh, Allah, and yes, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, and all those great things. Oh, you want to vote? Okay, show them the tits. See, gee, I wonder who you think is actually right.